For my cultural plunge, I decided to visit a Buddhist temple. I went to a Buddhist temple near my house to immerse myself in a completely different culture. This experience allowed me to completely see a different world. I have driven past this temple ever since I was a little girl, but actually going to the temple made it feel like I was in a completely different location, far from where I live. The experience urged me to open my eyes and recognize that I am surrounded by many different cultures in my small town, more than I ever expected. When I first arrived at the temple, my initial thought was how beautiful everything was. I was excited, but also very nervous and anxious. I got there while they were finishing up their prayer time, and I felt a little bit uncomfortable because I did not know where to go or even the basics such as bowing. I wanted to be sure that I was being respectful. I felt uncomfortable because for the first 10 minutes, all of the monks were in the temple praying, so I was just walking around looking at the different statues. I didn't know if this was even allowed. I wanted to be able to ask them so that I could respectfully visit their temple. When the monks finished praying, one of them showed us around and spoke with me about what Buddhism was to him. However, it was very difficult because of the language barrier between us. Even with the language barrier, though, everyone there was so inviting and nice. The monk that showed us around even gave us a book called Understanding the Heart to read. It was his own personal book that he just decided to pass on to me. And then he told me once I finished reading it to pass it on to somebody else. I wanted to know what Buddhism was beyond what I read on the internet. I wanted to learn about it firsthand from someone who practices Buddhism. I wanted to know the basic rules they follow, like bowing, reading their text, or taking their shoes off when they enter buildings. I learned that Buddhism is about following how you feel. The monk repeatedly told me that you become one with Buddha and you use how you feel to guide your decisions. You do not let others make decisions for you. When I left, I was still very confused. I was hoping that going to the temple would provide me with a clear explanation about what Buddhism is, but I left with even more questions. I was expecting to be able to walk around and talk with the monks like I did, but it was also made clear to me that the experience is very different for everyone. While Buddhism is a form of religion, it is more spiritual and about getting into it with your feelings. You are supposed to give your sufferings away to Buddha through prayers and meditation. Everyone at the temple was very kind and welcoming. They seemed to be so excited to be able to share their beliefs with me. This experience showed me that before visiting the temple, I knew absolutely nothing about Buddhism. It also showed me that there are parallels between Buddhism and my beliefs as a Christian. As a Christian, I pray to God about my sufferings and triumphs. I ask Him for forgiveness. This is like Buddhism because they also pray and release their sufferings to Buddha. My preconceptions were both validated and not validated. My preconceptions about the importance of statues and being spiritual in their culture was validated. However, I was not expecting it to vary so much from person to person. Visiting the temple and speaking with the monk definitely impacted the way I view my own culture and culture of others. It showed me that even when you differ greatly from someone, you can also find something that is similar. It reminded me that not everyone in my community is a Christian. I'm so used to being surrounded by Christians that I sometimes forget to recognize the different cultures and religions around me. The monk, however, immediately recognized our culture and religion and was very comfortable talking about Christianity. He even used it as a way to explain Buddhism to me. It showed me how kind and accepting their culture is. They welcomed us into their sacred place with open arms. I immediately thought about our readings and the discriminations that Americans have against others. It is so disheartening to know that many people would not just accept these monks into our culture with open arms, and would instead use their differences to discriminate against them, unlike how they treated me. This experience will allow me to be more accepting of anyone that crosses my path. I have always grown up to accept people for their differences, no matter where they come from, what they believe, or what they look like. The monks showed me what acceptance of a completely different culture looks like, though. They knew we did not share the same beliefs as them, but instead of using our differences to push us away, they used it as a way to connect with us and welcome us. I want to treat my students and coworkers the exact same way. I want my students to become culturally responsive. I want them to leave my classroom a global citizen. I will show them that, regardless of what they believe, where they come from, or what they look like, that they will always be accepted, respected, and loved by me, and hopefully they can carry that into the world themselves too one day.